Alright, hi there. This is Steven with Karma Astrology, coming to you live from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Today is Saturday, May 15th, the Ides of May, 2021. It is 9 o'clock a.m. here in Santa Fe. Thought I'd just kind of do it this morning stream, even though we only have about half a day. I guess a little more than half a day left in Ardra Nakshatra. It's a little weird this time of day because the moon is transiting from each kind of Indian constellation or nakshatra later in the day, or as you can see down here, it's at 1:43 a.m. that the moon exits Ardra and goes into Punarvasu. But in the meantime, if you're watching this video, if it's before that time down there on May 16th, excuse me, then this energy will be active. So that being said, we can look up here and we can see the moon is MO in that top box, Gemini. It's in Gemini. It's right now the ascendant is there, so it's rising on the eastern horizon behind me over here. And it's with Mars. I'm going to talk a little bit about that because it's getting closer and closer to Mars. As you can see, its moon's at about 12 degrees. Mars is at 19 degrees, so they're approaching each other because the moon moves faster than Mars. And that's going to bring a lot of fieriness and aggression and kind of angstiness into our consciousness, as the moon represents our psychology, our feelings, wherever we're sensitized or sensitive to, and our sense of connection with others in general. So we're going to be looking more for these kind of Martian relationships on a day like today and connections to other people. So you might be more attracted to arguments or debates or fights. It might be a good day for you to practice some sort of martial art, or if you have any sort of, physical practice, it's a great day to really dive into the body and work out that kind of intensity and that energy of Mars in your physical form. Excuse me. So, that being said, the moon in Gemini in general shows this kind of intellectual curiosity on a day like today and day like yesterday and tomorrow, because the moon moves through a sign in every 2.5 days. So we're in the middle of this meat of the Gemini sign, and that really shows a lot of this ability to be very curious and inquisitive and intellectual. As I'll drill down deeper into Ardra, those 3 letters after the moon shows the Vedic constellation. But in general, when the moon's in Gemini, we can tend to our feelings kind of change very rapidly based on our thoughts. Our feelings and our thoughts are very, very connected when the moon's in Gemini. So we can get kind of disturbed or excited or any sort of emotions, good or bad or in between, based on how we're thinking and who we're communicating with. And in terms of Mars, or the moon being in Gemini next to Mars, it really shows that we might be more attracted to fighting people. We might be more attracted to debating or arguing with people. So it's a good thing to be able to be aware of this and watch this video. You be aware of it, then you can make sure that you don't get too heated with your loved ones or anyone you really do want to connect with, so that you can still debate, but have a very respectful debate, knowing that we might have a tendency to go overboard with our aggression. And if we know that, then we can kind of tone it down a little bit and still have that kind of fire and the part of us that wants to protect the things that we love with our speech. Hey Queen, nice to see you in here. Good morning. But yeah, so we can basically have a little bit more of that sensibility when we know that we're getting a little too heated and fiery with this Martian energy. And it's going to come up mainly through our sense of communication and speech. And then, just to go a little deeper, sorry, I have little allergies are getting to me again today. We must have something new that's blooming here in Santa Fe. It's always something new this time of year, right? So I'll go down a little deeper and talk about Ardra Nakshatra. That's the middle constellation, or the middle part of Gemini. And Ardra is ruled by or connected with the deity called Rudra. Now, Rudra was kind of the primitive or the early form of Shiva, what we now know as Shiva. Yeah, for sure. It's great to have you in here. Nice to have a little life in the chat. So yeah, if you have any questions, Queen, just let me know. More than happy to answer them, and talk about whatever. So yeah, the Rudra is this fierce kind of half man, half woman, half male, half female god that is fierce and and kind of this force of power and destruction in a way, because it's trying to wash away all of the superficial elements of our lives. So anytime that we get attached to something that's not aligning us with kind of our true self or our purpose or anything that's really aligned with natural law, nature in general, and cosmic laws, our sense of deep kind of spiritual meaning in life, when this Rudra comes around, or when the moon enters Ardra, we feel this kind of destructive force within us that wants to clear the air, like a storm cloud coming through and just kind of cleaning out all of the particulate matter in the air, all the debris, and then we have that nice, fresh, clean energy to work with after this is gone, and that'll bring us into tomorrow's energy. But in general, today is really about that fierce, fiery storm energy. So we're kind of adding to that whole protective element, that whole debating and fighting element of Mars and Moon being conjunct together in Gemini. On top of that, they're both in Ardra, as you can see. So it's this, we might be drawn more towards kind of attacking what we perceive to be other people's weaknesses, other things that are kind of taking people away from their truth and their sense or what we perceive to be their truth. Let's be real. And we're all going to have a different perception of that based on our characteristics and our life experiences. But when so just beware of this over energy or over emphasis of kind of destructiveness. And that kind of brings me to the symbol of Ardra, which is the teardrop, or a raindrop. And it's the teardrop because this destruction of our false sense of identity and false attachments and our connections to things that are kind of distortions in the world. A lot of things in society can be super distorted, especially in 2021, from my perspective, as a very strong Ardra type of person. I have my Mercury in Ardra. So it's this teardrop kind of is almost like the sadness that things aren't kind of in alignment with nature, that when human society doesn't align with nature, we get sad, we get upset, we get angry, and we want to clear the energy, and we want to kind of take on problems that are difficult and that require a lot of skill and martial prowess in order to kind of clear the air with. So it could be that we're tip-tap typing away on Instagram or the computer, on Facebook, I don't know. I'm not on those social networks right now or anything, but that might be how you express your desire to change the world for the better and to get more aligned with truth and as you see it. So that teardrop also shows the pain and the suffering of removing our attachments in our lives. So if we're too attached to a person, to anything, really, ultimately we're trying to be able to relate to everything and be connected and feel it in its essence, so that we don't feel like we're alone or this separate entity of an individual. We're more connected to everything, but without attaching to it. We don't want to create that karma that comes from attaching to something and feeling like we can't let it go. We can't live without it, because ultimately we have to live without everything, because we're going to exit this body someday and leave the actual body behind. And even though we've worked our whole lives to preserve this, flesh and blood and bones and all that fun stuff, eventually the cleansing storm is going to come. We're going to die. We're going to let this body go and move on into the next realm or afterlife or whatnot. And in the meantime, it's a little painful to make peace with that kind of separation. So it's something to remember on a day like today. You might be feeling like you're kind of losing something, or forcing yourself to change your perspective in a way that'll allow you to kind of detach from things that we're really attached to. And that's a really positive energy. It kind of clears the air and it cleans the space out so that you can put something new there that you can, or a new type of relationship that you can have with yourself and with your attachments that's more temporal in existence, in its principle, but still that same deep level of connection and love and all the things that we enjoy about those attachments, just without the attachment part of it. So, let's see, what else? There's definitely this kind of intense energy, very, very intense energy, and this cleansing energy. The raindrops or the teardrops is kind of this purification. As we look at water, is this purifying element and emotional element that gets us to cleanse maybe our emotions and our feelings out. We need a good cry every now and then, and today's kind of a day that people tend to cry more than others, because we see how, if our life is really fulfilled, how we will eventually, part ways with all those things that are super fulfilling about this temporary incarnation. And then if we're unfulfilled, or if we're feeling not satisfied with the world, then we might feel emotionally upset or perturbed and feel like crying because things aren't necessarily aligned with truth and justice and all that kind of stuff. So this Rudra energy can really give today like this sense of sorrow, as well as fierceness, because that pain and that suffering, it shows our close emotional connection with reality and with the truth, and how we want to live our lives deep down in our core, our spiritual life. It also connects us in a way to like wild animals and nature in general, because ultimately we are part of nature, and that separation that we feel when we kind of say that we're, a lot of times people like to think that people have lost connection with the fact that we're animals in general, that we are ourselves just another animal out there. Well, we do have a different set of mental faculties and a different type of consciousness than most animals, or a different level, you could say, because our spine is upright, and for whatever reason we've evolved to a certain degree. It doesn't make us any less animals or any less connected to the rest of the natural world, and that's something we need to constantly remind ourselves of, and something we need to maybe get in touch with on a day like today. Ardra has a lot to do with kind of unsung heroes and people that are trying to do the right thing for the world, but not getting the respect that they deserve for it. So that can kind of be a theme of today. Let's see. There's a strong sense of mental energy and intellectual curiosity and capacity. Our wit is heightened on a day like today in general. We might be facing problems for that reason, because our mind is extra powerful, and therefore it can get really fickle and indecisive, and we can kind of spin. So beware, or just be cautious of our propensity towards kind of spinning out a little bit. It's a good day to prepare, though, for any challenges that we see for ourselves and our loved ones in the future. It's a great day to kind of stock up and prep for things, and so that when, or if worst came to worst, we'd be prepared in any sort of situation in our lives. It's definitely this kind of natural prepper mentality in a way that when the moon comes into Ardra, or just Ardra Nakshatra in general, and since Mars is there, we're kind of finding ourselves prepping for defensive situations, or maybe aggressive situations, or situations where we're going to need to use all of our faculties to protect ourselves and those we love. So it might be that it's a great day to practice some sort of physical activity that strengthens your body, or mental activity that hones, the sharpness of your intellect and your mind on a day like today. And it could lend itself, it's an interesting day, the rishis, or the sages of the past, in the Indus River Valley civilization talked about how there's a lot of difficult people associated with Ardra Nakshatra, people that do things in the dark and clandestinely and maybe not so for the right reasons. So it can bring up this sense of righteousness and this desire to rout those people out of society, or just to be able to protect ourselves and to be aware that people might not always have our best interests in heart. And so we need to be able to have, to have some sort of self-defense, whereas we don't want to necessarily aggress on anybody else. That's kind of a whole different principle as well. And then in terms of, let me just see here. Okay, yeah, so in terms of the actual location in the sky, I'll show you what it looks like. This is actually the star Betelgeuse is Ardra. So if you've ever seen that movie, or just, if you've ever looked up in the sky and seen Orion, the constellation of Orion, the left shoulder is called Betelgeuse, and I will show you exactly where it is so you can get a good idea. So the moon is now rising. There's the sun up there. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And we can see here, if this rises, no. You can see here as the day kind of goes that the moon is traveling along that orange line as it goes around the Earth. That orange line is called the ecliptic, but it's also the moon's orbit. And that left shoulder of Orion is Betelgeuse. And I'm going to go just, I guess, to yesterday so you can really see. So down here, yeah, and at sunset, you'll be able to see this. So there's Gemini up here, and there's Betelgeuse, this bright orange star in Orion. I'm going to back up a little bit because this is too low on the horizon. But you can see Orion is that, beautiful constellation, very close to Gemini up here, and close to Taurus as well. There's Venus in Taurus that we just passed the other day. So this is kind of, you can see perpendicular to this orange line is Betelgeuse, that shoulder of Orion. And that's a really beautiful, I think it's a red giant in the star that you'll be able to see tonight just after sunset, as you can see in this picture. So definitely around sunset you can see Mercury, and I'll just show you that too, because that's pretty cool. I think it's nice to be able to look up in the sky and know what you're seeing. So there's the sun, and there's its setting. And you can see, boom, just right there is Venus, and there's Mercury. So it's going to go Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon tonight. So as you watch that sunset, look for those other stars, and then look off to the left, and you'll see Betelgeuse, and you'll see above them Castor and Pollux and Gemini in general. It's a pretty noticeable constellation, the constellation of Gemini. I always like to look for that one. It's pretty easy to see because it's close to Orion, something that now you know if you didn't know before. Okay, let me go back, and then I'm going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses and kind of close out there in terms of what we can do to make this day, to work with the energy of the day, what kind of energies are heightened in us. So in terms of strengths, it allows us to think a little quicker, act a little quicker, gives us a sense of curiosity and thirst for knowledge, gives us a good memory on a day like today, stronger communication skills. That's that whole Gemini principle, this kind of communicativeness. It makes us more focused on what the truth is. Whether or not we're going along with it or trying to get skirted is another another issue altogether. It gives us more compassion, that kind of the teardrop, it allows us to really reflect on the issues going on in the world. It makes us feel connected to those who are in pain or feeling some sort of, stress. It is a great day for physical activity and, and to overcome bad habits, to kind of rout out, like I was saying before, those difficult elements within ourselves that we need to kind of learn how to detach from. And then in terms of the weaknesses, it can make us a little arrogant because we think that we're better than other people based on, our perception of what the truth is and our thoughts and feelings, that that where we think people are being disenfranchised or, just not treated very well. It can make us a little ungrateful for what we have, and because we tend to focus too much on the negative on a day like today. So keep that in mind. Don't get too dark and too deep in those difficult feelings. It can make us mischievous, a little reckless, antisocial. It can make us a little too self-serving or stubborn, hypercritical, impolite or untruthful. And then we can, on the dark side, it can really create a lot of pain or agony for other people and ourselves. We can get just inconsiderate and a little abusive with our authority if we are not in the right headspace and we are focused too much on our attachments. And this sign has a tendency to throw people into kind of false paradigms and false mindsets that are not rooted around the collective good and maybe just the good of our little secret society or whatever people that don't wish to help other people do. So keep that in mind. Don't let someone take advantage of you. Don't take advantage of others. Don't kind of fall for this hyper destructive tendency on a day like today. We want to be very tactful and intelligent and use that like heightened wit and mental clarity to be able to discern when it's right to say something or not say something, to do something or to not do something, and to really do it for the betterment of everybody and everything. And then we kind of get more of the blessings of today and tomorrow, which is the return of the light. So even as dark as today seems in terms of the actual part of the sky, this is the part of the sky that actually faces directly away from the center of the galaxy. In Gemini, it's looking towards the outer. We're about 2/3, 3/4 of the way out from the center of the galaxy here in the solar system that we live in. But the actual zodiac. The planets travel around this part of the sky that points directly to the center and directly away from the center of the galaxy, and this is the part of the sky that's away from the center. So it kind of has to do with that darkness and that concealment and the kind of mysteriousness that goes on out there. They can be a difficult energy to deal with, whereas tomorrow it's like this return of the light. We're going back towards the center of the galaxy. Things are getting brighter. We're more optimistic and hopeful, and we have all these second chances and kind of a second wind. Kind of laboring that point, I know, but it's nice to know that it's not going to last forever. It's just a day of temporary difficult energy, but depending on what planets are there for you, you might enjoy this type of energy. It might be thrilling for you. So I don't know what you got going on in your life or your chart, but so in terms of favorable activities, it's a good day for demolition and destruction and kind of getting rid of your old habits, for confronting people and things that you're having troubles with, for research, for being creative. It can be really good for tearing down the parts of society that you don't like, for managing difficult situations and being able to hold space in your mind for things that we wouldn't necessarily have the capacity to think about, really difficult thoughts. And like I said, with all these things, since it's favorable for this destructive energy, we have to use tact. We have to use skill and discernment in order to make sure we're not destroying the good with the bad, or the things that we really do enjoy, or the things that are supporting our lives in a truthful and kind of spiritual essence. So yeah, great for breaking bad habits, getting rid of old things, addressing problems, resolving any sort of negativity as well. And then it's an unfavorable day for beginning new things, for starting energy, for any sort of religious or marital activities, because there is this kind of destructiveness, and our relationships are where we're trying to build something. So not the greatest day for business, and unless your business involves some sort of destructive aspect of life, like if you're in the construction business and you're doing a demolition project, I think it's very helpful for that, but it's not going to be great for like laying the foundation of the building or anything like that. And then it's a good day for travel, or it's not a good day for travel as well, because that destructive tendency is in everybody. So we need to be sure that we're not acting, you know, if you're in traffic and someone, it's a good day. It can tend to lead to road rage and people trying to prove a point to each other, for better or worse. So even if they're right or wrong, they're going to try and kind of destroy the thing that they think is wrong, and maybe that could be, you know, the way that you're driving. So something to be aware. That's why it's not great to travel, because you never know who you're going to run into on a day like today, or, you know, you don't want to run into someone like Alexander the Great or something like that when Ardra energy is in the sky. And that being said, like, this is actually a day that most wars start. This is a day when powers that be like to plan warring actions and destructive actions. So it can be, you know, pretty serious. It's a pretty darn difficult energy. But if we use it wisely, if we listen to things like this, and you kind of get what I'm trying to say, you can destroy the things that need to be destroyed, because that's just the creative and the creation, the destruction. That's all part of the cycle of life, and we need to be able to work harmoniously with both, you know, to make space for one and the other, and in order to just, you know, evolve as people. So I think that's gonna do it for the I kind of labored the point there. My Mercury, as I said, is in Gemini, is in Ardra itself. So I can tend to, for example, have a little too much harsh speech, and tend to want to destroy things with my words, and I always have to watch out for that in social interactions, and that's why I'm kind of giving you guys this warning. Just from the heart, I know what it feels like to see the pain of the world, or be able to think about it and hold space for others that are in difficult situations, and myself as well. And tact and, you know, discernment are just so important, so that we can maintain our integrity and our honor and our sense of righteousness when we are going through destructive days like today. And I think that's going to do it. You have any questions, Queen? Anyone else in here that has any questions about today? We have, you know, that Mars and Moon is really an intense energy. It's always kind of difficult to have, you know, the Moon and Mars conjunct. But yeah, so I hope you got a lot out of this video. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and subscribe if you want to see these on a daily basis, so that you can know what you're dealing with and what energy is going on. Yeah, fantastic day to be physically active, Queen says. Get that energy out in a positive way, totally. You know, and that's one of the main essences or lessons of Mars, is that we need to kind of destroy something. We need to kind of work to destroy something, and that means destroying our inner weaknesses is the best thing that we can work on. And that's kind of when we get strong, when we get active, when we take part in physical activity, then we're not only kind of strengthening our body and stretching out our tendons and our, you know, getting our yayas out, and it really helps our mind to be able to focus and to relax and come into this state of peace and harmony, because we got that energy out. We don't have the spinning thoughts, and today is a day, and Mercury or you know, this part of the sky in general, Gemini, is definitely you know, lends itself to those spinning thoughts. So when we work out, our thoughts kind of slow down and calm down, and we're able to clearly decide what we want to say. So thank you very much. I appreciate the gratitude, Queen. It's so nice to have you in chat. And I will catch you all next time. Peace and love. Take care.